Hi everyone, I'm Ranger Cathy Taylor at Paris Mountain State Park. We're glad you're here today with us by Facebook. And Paris Mountain State Park, if you don't know, is in Greenville, South Carolina in the upstate. It's just 6 miles from downtown Greenville, but it's a great big natural area with 15 miles of trails that people around here and people visiting get to explore from all over. And I'm being filmed today by Snow Hawkins. She also works here at the park. And so she and I are going to be walking on Mountain Creek Trail just a little bit and a little bit of Lake Placid Trail. Just getting to go in a little area today. If she pans around a little bit, you can see Lake Placid over there. And the bathhouse, now we call it Park Center, is also nearby. But there's a lot of animals, as you can imagine, living at Paris Mountain State Park. And we're going to be looking for evidence of animals while we're here today. And Snow and I will be social distancing. She has on her mask. I tried having on a mask and the result was a little muffled and my glasses have fogged up. But whenever some visitors go by, I will have my mask back on. I'm using one that I can easily slip on and off. I want to make sure everybody can hear me clearly and let me know if there's any trouble with hearing me okay. So I'm going to be using a sheet that you may have seen on the Facebook page. You certainly don't need it today, but it's the Animal Scavenger Hunt. Sometimes I use this with people on summer hikes or on one of our fourth Saturday programs. What I found is that once we get started looking for what's on the sheet, we find so much more. Because once you start slowing down and looking, that's when you find so much of the wonders of nature. Some of the items on here are a hole in a leaf, a hole in a tree, chewed pine cone, maybe. Well, what do you think of when you are looking around in nature that would be evidence of animals? We hope to see actual animals too, some, and maybe hear them, but sometimes we just look for the evidence. And that's sort of a fun way to be a detective on the trail. We can be looking for clues to what's out here. So we'll go just a little bit down here. Did anybody, by the way, think of nests or feathers? Did anybody thinking of chewed nuts maybe? So we'll be seeing what we find along the way. Okay. I did say we'll be on Mountain Creek Trail, and I'll mention again, if some of you just came on, that I'm Ranger Cathy Taylor here at Paris Mountain State Park. And I hope that some of you are watching. We're actually going to get to see a couple of mountain bikers going by, the popular trail for that. I usually see students, school kids, on field trips here, normal years. And they like seeing the mountain bikers go by. Some of you may have been here on a field trip, or some of you may have planned to go on a field trip this spring if we had been able to do that. Well, one thing I'm going to mention with all the changes going on this spring, school's out, we know, all sorts of changes due to the COVID-19 virus. I found, I'm just going to share my opinion on this, I found that being in nature is especially important now. When we're having to adjust to so many changes, and I don't know if you're like me, but sometimes I wake up in the morning and just wish things were back to normal. Wouldn't it be nice if things were back to normal? And one day we'll get there. But when I'm out in nature, I'm reminded that the animals and plants that live out here, they're just doing their normal thing. This virus is affecting humans, but the animals are having a normal day-to-day life. And so being around that normalcy can sometimes be therapeutic even. But we'll just enjoy being out involved with what nature is doing today. So I know we're going to be looking for evidence of animals, and if you see something, let us know. But I'm going to go ahead and get to the trail, Mountain Creek Trail, and sort of entering the forest over here. Okay. Well, we have new spring leaves, but already a lot of them have been chewed on. If you'll look, and I'm letting Snow look while I stand back just a little bit, we have some hickory leaflets that have been chewed on. And so what do you think of that chews on leaves? If you're thinking caterpillar, that comes to my mind too. And other insects as well, or maybe some little furry animals might nibble on leaves. Now there's something else on these leaves that I'm noticing. Do you see any white splats on the leaves? Well, what is it? Well, if you're thinking poop, that's what I'm thinking too. Maybe from a bird that was up high. Scientists call poop, they have another name for it, scat. And so sometimes on the trail we'll say, what scat is that? It can actually help you figure out what animals live there if you can find where they've gone to the bathroom and which animals did that. So, but we'll probably see some more scat on the trail, but we'll certainly see chewed leaves, definitely. So let's continue on Mountain Creek Trail here at Paris Mountain State Park. I'm Ranger Cathy Taylor, I'll mention again, and I'm so glad that the sun is coming out. About an hour ago, Snow and I were out here and it was very gray. Sunshine usually helps. We see more sometimes when it's a little bit sunny. Some of the butterflies or dragonflies or other animals might be out more. Okay, so let's continue on. I'm hearing various birds and hearing a cardinal, and in the distance, I don't think it picked up probably, but I did hear a hawk in the distance. Good stuff. So I will mention that all of our trails at Paris Mountain State Park are color-coded. It helps people not get lost so much if they know to follow a certain color, and our maps make that clear about which color is which. We're on Mountain Creek Trail, and what color trail is that? The orange trail. While we're here, I'll look for any other evidence of animals. I do see some little crevices, some rocks. Can you imagine a little animal living in a hole under a rock? Possibly. I could easily imagine that. Sometimes I've even seen a little toad under a hole under a rock. That would be cool if we saw that today. Now I will say that usually when I lead this hike and I'm looking for evidence of animals on the sheet, and sometimes I'll be checking them off too, but usually I have lots of extra eyes and ears helping me find all this. So to give us a little bit of advantage, Snow Hawkins and I, she's the one filming, holding the phone, she and I were walking around ahead of time yesterday and a little bit this morning even, and we did find some interesting finds. On the ground, I see some sort of pale green wings. They were just laying there yesterday and still there this morning. And what animal would have pale green wings? Well, if you're thinking Luna moth, you'd be right. It's only moth or butterfly with those coloring that I can think of. And what question that comes to my mind is, what are wings doing here? I mean, where's the rest of the moth, for example? Most likely, I'm imagining that a bird or some animal ate the rest of the moth, so that all that's left is the wings. And we know that Luna moths don't live very long, a week or so after they become adults, after they come out of their pupa cocoon stage, and they don't even have mouth parts for eating. So this one, at some point, became just the wings on the ground. Good find, though. Do you hear the geese honking? We do have Canada geese here at Paris Mountain. I'm glad they're going to be on Facebook now. At least the sounds of them. Maybe we'll see them later. Now, some of the items include like bumps on plant stems or galls. What's a gall? We know that some insects will make galls using a plant to do that. And so when I was looking around here, I was looking for some oak leaves because I know, okay, fun fact, there's 800 kinds of wasps in the world that lay eggs on oak trees. It has to be oaks. And so I was looking at some young oaks and seeing the leaves, and I did find a very old gall ball. So let me get it from down here. Glad it's still here. So, little round ball, about the size of a golf ball. And it was once hanging on an oak tree, like a little decoration. But we know that what happened was the mother wasp, and it's a very little wasp, doesn't bother people. She lays an egg on the oak tree, around the stem of a leaf. And when the egg hatches, something in the insect irritates the plant, the oak plant. So the plant will swell up and make a ball. It's sort of like if a mosquito bites your skin, but this is a big bump. But the baby wasp will grow up inside there, go through its entire life cycle. And when it's an adult ready to fly out, it doesn't have the right kind of nose for pushing out of that little gall ball. So before it's fully formed, fully grown, it will make a very thin membrane, just leave a very, very thin part that hasn't opened up yet, and then it can just push out when it has wings, ready to fly. Now that's one of the amazing parts of nature. It all works together so well. So I'm going to put that back down there for now. And wouldn't that be something fun to find? Maybe hanging from an oak time of year. Okay. So let's see. We'll go a little further. Okay. So one of the items on the sheet says chewed nuts. So when I see a flat stump, front reins of a tree, I'll sometimes look on top of the stump, see if anything's laying on top. And so Snow's zooming in, sort of getting up close there. Do you see some chewed nuts? And I find this frequently, that there'll be chewed nuts on a flat surface like a stump. And so what animal do you think was using that stump as a table? Well, if you're thinking squirrel, I would think so too. And I've seen squirrels using stumps as tables. So there are some remains of nuts that the squirrel was eating there. So that's definitely evidence of animals, right? We're looking for clues to animals here at Paris Mountain State Park. So let's continue on a little bit. See what else we can find. Has everybody been able to hear me okay? I guess I should ask every now and then. Do we get any comments? We doing all right? Okay. Snow's showing me a thumbs up, so we're going to assume we're doing all right with that. This is our first Facebook Live here at Paris Mountain State Park, I should mention. Here's a hole in the ground. It almost looks like something's dug it out there. And what little animal do you think of there? I do sometimes see chipmunks in this area of the park. I think of other little animals, furry animals like voles. There's a variety of animals that might make a little hole there. I guess some of you might be thinking snake hole. That is possible as well. We would love to see a snake today. Sometimes students will ask me, oh, are we going to see snakes today? And it's like, well, I hope so. Doesn't mean we go pick it up necessarily, but we do like to see them out here. So, well, I don't know if everybody does, but most people do. That's what you go home and talk about, right? So Mountain Creek Trail is turning, but I see another orange blaze mark. So we're going to go in the direction that Mountain Creek Trail goes along here. And the tree that has the orange blaze, I don't think it's alive anymore. In fact, it has a lot of holes in it. It has bunches of holes, and I don't see any leaves on it. But I've heard that a dead tree will provide homes for more animals than a live tree. You can imagine all sorts of little places for them to be. What animals do you think might live in a hole in a tree? Well, I know we might think of woodpeckers as some of the bigger trees. Maybe black rat snakes sometimes will find a hole in a tree. Anything else come to mind? Maybe some bats. There's all sorts of possibilities. Oh, I see a spider web up high there. So we know that there'll be homes for animals. Oh, flying squirrels, that's another one. That's a good one to imagine would be in a tree with holes in it. Wow. Okay. Now, we're getting to a part of the park, this particular stretch of trail, where a certain kind of animal tends to hang out here. We're getting close to Mountain Creek, and that's part of the reason why we'll see some evidence of a certain animal here. So I'm going to look at a stump over here. It's not flat like the other stump we saw. It has a pointy top. Now, it's not as pointy as some. This looks like, this has been here a little while, but sort of like a pencil that is not real sharp right now. So what animal are you thinking of that chews down trees here? If you've been to Paris Mountain State Park or been on a school program at Paris Mountain State Park, I know you've talked about this some. Yes, we do have beavers here. We have a beaver population here. Normally a family group. It'd be mother and father beaver and the baby beavers that would be born around this time of year, like end of May, beginning of June. That's when the beavers are going to be in their den. Or lodge, we sometimes call it, which is separate from the dam. And so that's probably coming up soon. And the beavers have been very busy lately. I mean, during this whole year, they've been very busy. And, well, there's plenty of stumps. There's also another evidence of beaver coming up. Now, we'll save the turtle trail maybe for another day. That's a nice trail, too. Now, I know snow's gonna try to get, so without getting into poison ivy, we'll try to get into an area where you can see where the bark has been chewed off the base of the tree. And yes, beavers will eat the inner candium layer of the bark. And you might think, doesn't that kill the tree? Well, yes, it does kill the tree. Not always right away. Sometimes we'll see a tree lasting for a little bit, but then it can't make it with that. And if people were killing the trees, I'd be kind of upset about it. But with beavers, that's just what they do. So, and you might know some reasons why beavers would chew down trees. We know they make their lodge, I've mentioned that, and they make dams. And do you know something else about beaver teeth? Well, you might know if you've had a hamster, a gerbil, or another rodent, you might know that beavers' teeth, because they're rodents, their teeth keep growing, and they have to keep on having hard foods, or so their teeth don't grow too long. Well, okay, so we'll keep on looking for beaver evidence, but there's other interesting finds around here. Let's see, where did we find another? I think a little farther down. Oh yeah, now I just noticed something we do need to look at. This is a good find. We have, and oh yeah, you can pick it up. That's right, we have a tree branch, a big branch of a beech tree, and the beavers apparently chewed this down and left it. Now, usually when I see a stump of a tree, I look to see if the rest of the tree got pulled, dragged down somewhere nearby. But that one was left there. Maybe it got snagged. And I see some vines near there, and maybe the branch got snagged, but that's definitely part of a beaver evidence right there, beaver activity. And we're getting around some water areas here. We'll be coming up to an open area where Mountain Creek flows through a tunnel that was made in 1898 when Lake Placid was made. mask on while they were going by. So we have an open area here, and sometimes when it's a little warmer or sunnier, sometimes we'll have dragonflies flitting about here. This is an area where sometimes the beavers will make a dam in the tunnel here. It's a perfect spot for them to do that. But they've actually been making some dams, well, some areas nearby. We can look for that too. I'm also seeing a log, a part of a tree in the water. And when I see that, I always think of our students who come to the park, being scientists on their field trip. Without fail, just about once every day, students will ask about that log, say, as we're just approaching it, saying, is that an alligator? This area with all the water makes people think of alligators. We don't have alligators in this part of South Carolina. So it's the temperature gets too cold. I've heard actually too cold for the eggs of the alligators in the spring. But anyway, so no alligators, but we do have some downed trees that look like alligators a little bit at first. Now on the other side of the railing, yesterday Snow noticed an awful lot of branches piled up where a tree has come down across the water, and we haven't gone to really inspect up close. That could be, very well could be, a beaver dam. We know the beavers have been busy this time of year. If we got close enough, and it's a little tricky getting over there, but if we got close enough, we could look for the pointy tips of branches in that area there, because we know they're active right now. Well, I say right now, but we're not seeing them, are we? You might know that beavers around here, we've noticed they're nocturnal. I have seen them at night here at the park, but not usually during the daytime. We had a first last fall. Some students were here on a field trip, and we saw a beaver swim right across our path right over here. So that was pretty cool. I don't know why the beaver was up. It was around 9:30 in the morning. Maybe he stayed up later than usual that morning after the sun rose. Okay, so let's see, somewhere in here, oh, I see it. Okay, one of the items on our sheet is a cocoon or chrysalis, and I will give my husband, Tim Taylor, he works at Roper Mountain Science Center. He sees students also normal years. Well, he noticed this about 2 weeks ago when we were over here, and it's still there, fortunately. We have a cocoon, and it's from the Polyphemus moth. And because there's a hole at the top of it, it looks like the Polyphemus moth did emerge from there, from its pupa cocoon stage, and came out as an adult Polyphemus moth, which is a pretty impressive looking moth. You might want to look that up. So that was a cool find, and I hope it stays there for a little while for people to see. The moth is done with it now. So cool. All right. So we're just looking around. So a lot of what we're seeing are from insects, aren't they? Not all of them, but a lot of them are. Now we'll continue along here. So, I remember I'm out here a lot, or have been out, like last fall I was out here with a lot of students. And at this open area here, I was aware that, or students were aware that there were a lot of chewed pine cones right in this open area. We do have a bunch of pine trees around here. And so I'll go ahead and pick up some. There's a bunch of them. But I'll get some chewed pine cones. Yeah, right here. Now, I don't think that any kids were chewing on pine cones. They're like corn on the cob. It looks like they were chewed up. What animal would probably chew on pine cones? Are any of you thinking squirrels? Yeah, I've seen the squirrel. Sometimes we'll be under a tree, a pine tree, and a squirrel will be chewing on a pine cone above us, dropping little pieces onto our heads. So I know that they like them, particularly when they're green. So we'll come back this way a little bit because the people are coming up. And hi. Hey. This way. Oh, you found a feather. Cool. Hi. A feather is one of the items on our sheet. So I think I saw a feather that someone found, so I'm going to put that on here. Hi. Okay, so we'll continue on this way. So we're starting to head back toward Lake Placid here, sort of so that we can make this a short walk. Remember, we have 15 miles of trails at Paris Mountain State Park. But we'll continue on here. It's a very bumpy stretch of trail. Sometimes I'll encourage students to step on the rocks and roots on purpose, carefully, and get a foot massage. You might have done that here. Now, along the path, along the trail we've been going on, I was seeing some red bumps on leaves. Some of the hickory leaves had red bumps. And so this one is a particularly good example of that. So what is going on with red bumps on leaves? Some are bright red. Well, there is a little insect, aphid-like insect, that makes these. Using the plant again, the bump is made from plant tissue. So again, sort of like that mother wasp that we mentioned earlier, this is another kind of gall, and the mother aphid-like insect lays an egg on the leaf, and when the egg hatches, it irritates the plant, makes a bump. This is getting a little closer to what a mosquito bump would look like on us, but it swells up, and again, the baby insect grows up inside the bump, getting plant tissue to eat, everything it needs until it hatches out. So another example of that, and I've sometimes wondered, I sometimes ask students what they think, because students are smart, ask them, how does the mother insect know which leaf is a hickory leaf? Because it has to work on the hickories only. And she may not call it a hickory, but the mother aphid-like insect will, I don't know, what do you think? Students sometimes say smell, and I think that's probably right. She wouldn't have a big brain. Insects don't have a big brain necessarily, but they have a lot of instinctual behaviors, and they would know where to lay their eggs. Another one of those wonders of nature. Okay, so we're going to continue on, getting close to the lake. I do want to mention, I know we're talking about evidence of animals, but we know that a lot of flowers are important to animals, or animals important to them for pollination. We know bees and pollination, the wasps are important for that too. Well, anyway, we have here a very pretty flower, mountain laurel, that's what it's called, you might know it. And people pass this plant, they're sometimes vaguely aware of the plant, and when it's not blooming, they'll say, when does the mountain laurel bloom? And I always say, well, it blooms around Mother's Day. And you're probably aware that we just had Mother's Day recently. And so it is blooming. Very pretty little plant, and important to the bees and some other insects. Nice. Earlier we saw a tree with the bark off at the base. You remember what animal does that? Yeah, definitely the beavers have been here chewing the bark off the tree. Looking to see at the top, it looks like this tree is still alive. Maybe? Trying to tell. The leaves are way up high. Well, we'll continue on. I do wish that I had a bunch of extra eyes here with me, that all of you were finding these things for me. We'll continue to look. And we know we're getting to the lake. Oh, snow spotted little hole under a rock. What do you think would live there? Okay. So we're back around Lake Placid area. And we might want to come out onto the dock here. sometimes when we have a whole class of students, we don't come out on the dock. It might make some of the teachers nervous if 20-something students were all out here. But it is a good view of the lake. And right on the edge of this dock, I'm seeing, it looks like someone's been spitting on the trees. We have on the alder plants, we have spit dripping from the trees. So do you think that some people were just over here and were spitting? Well, you might know that that's from the spittle bug. And it is sort of like spit, but it's made a little bit differently, produced by the spittle bug. It would be in a little larva inside that wad of spit. So it grows up inside there. Now, isn't that amazing? So nature has everything it needs out here, and it works so well. Okay. So maybe that's something you can look for when you're out in nature, is look for spit that's evidence of animals. Now we have a plant over here that we are not going to get real close to. I do see some white specks like a bird has gone to the bathroom on it, and I see some chewed leaves, but I'm seeing 3 leaves. And what is this plant with 3 leaves that we're going to avoid? Yes, we have poison ivy here. And so if you've ever been affected by it, getting the itchy rash from poison ivy, you know it's not fun. But it does live here. It has good protection for itself, although apparently some animals do chew on the leaves. Some are able to. Okay. And we're around the edge of the water here a little bit. And now I am seeing, could be footprints, but it's sort of hard to tell with water. One of the items on our sheet is for the Animal Scavenger Hunt is looking for tracks. So it's possible we have some here, and I'm sure we have some little fish out in there. I'm not seeing them so much right now as we sometimes do. Okay. I know we'll have to be wrapping up soon, so I'm going to continue on to at least get to the over this bridge here. Now on this bridge, we get a good view of the lake. Sometimes we'll see turtles, and you can almost tell the weather by the turtles. If it was sunny right now, there'd be a bunch of turtles on some of the downed trees out there. I'm not seeing them right now. Oh, we have someone coming by, so we may have to get past the bridge a little. So, Snow and I, she's the one holding the phone here. Snow and I were looking for evidence of animals this morning, and we did have a pretty good find. We were seeing spider webs, but then we noticed that there was something in this spider web, and this is pretty cool. This is a dragonfly's exoskeleton. So a dragonfly was growing up as a nymph, a baby in the water. When it was time for it to grow up, it crawled out of the water onto this bridge post, and then I don't know if it got caught in a spider web before or after it grew up. It looks like this is empty, so I'm going to say that the Dragonfly Nymph emerged from that. That's the exoskeleton, as what you think of as a colorful dragonfly, and then the exoskeleton got caught in this web. That's what I'm thinking happened anyway. But that's a pretty cool find to look for when you're around water. Especially look for exoskeletons of dragonflies, or just look for exoskeletons. That's another cool animal find. So we'll continue a little bit more. So we made it to the edge of the lake, and there's some interesting items in here seeing some shiny water. It looks almost like oil. And Snow is actually better at explaining this than I am, but we know that there's a bacteria in there. It's not a concern to us, but that it will actually use iron and manganese in the water and process that. It's actually an important bacteria for the health of the lake. So, but it creates that kind of sheen, without going into it too much. Now there are also some little mud pellets, little balls of mud right on the edge there. And those could very likely, you might have some other ideas, they're probably from crayfish. They'll actually make little tunnels and excavate that. Crayfish are more active at night. They might have made those during the night. Well, I know we're going to have to wrap things up, and you may have some questions or something like that to answer. We made it so we're almost where we started from, just down the hill at the lake.
What can you do at Paris Mountain?
Oh, okay. We have the 15 miles of trails. We will have swimming going on this summer. Sometimes you can rent a boat, and there's camping that you can do here. So there are a lot of possibilities here at Paris Mountain State Park. We have 4 lakes here at the park, so there's a lot that can be done out here. But yeah, we got the sun out now, so we're probably going to be seeing turtles anytime. Well, I'm going to sign off, but again, thank you for being with me on our first Facebook Live, and hope to see you again.